I'm Rogiérs. I've been a recording artist, performer, and singer-songwriter in entertainment for over 20 years now. I want to pass the torch to the next great and up-and-coming artists in and around Washington, D.C., and shine a light on their promising careers. Today we talk with the singer-songwriter Jenna Camille. This is In the Meantime.
Do you have any expectations, like just daily, like in terms of, you know, week to week, month to month, year to year, as an artist? Like, do your expectations change? How are they sort of, you know, woven into your existence?
I don't really like expectations. Not to say that, I mean, I guess for me it's more about goal setting than having expectations.
Okay.
As I feel like when I expect things of myself, I'm not necessarily expecting them from a place that I'm currently at. It's more of this kind of finger wagging thing where this is where you should be and I expect more out of you. And so I kind of try to be fair to myself and be fair about where I am.
Good.
And just set, you know, goals about, you know, where I eventually want to be.
With this new record, you have the new record, it's called Up and Down, right?
Well, actually, Up and Down was released in January of this year.
Okay. So you've had, so far this year, Up and Down, but you've also had the collaboration with Pedro. And what's new? What's new coming up?
Well, so I have this project that I'm finishing up with a friend of mine, Discipline 99. It's called The Stuff.
This stuff?
The Stuff.
Okay.
And The Stuff is like, it's kind of like an unofficial soundtrack for this horror movie that we both really like. That was just like, we should just make a whole album.
That's sweet.
Dedicated to this really
That's sweet.
confusing movie.
That's sweet. That's sweet. The Stuff?
Yes, the next record is called The Stuff.
The Stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm from Accokeek, Maryland. I was originally born in Georgia. And I've been performing pretty much all my life, but as a solo artist for about 4 years. I went to Soul Music Conservatory and on Kennedy Street in Northwest, and I graduated from Duke Ellington School of the Arts in 2008. Went to Michigan State University for jazz studies, transferred to UDC, studied under Alan Johnson for jazz studies, and eventually got my associates in jazz studies with bachelor's in English. And so I've been writing my own music, producing my own music for pretty much most of my life. I started playing classical music first, but my piano teacher is also a jazz musician, so we kind of incorporated that too in my training. As I was learning piano, I was also very hyper-focused on lyricism. So what often, you know, back in the day when we would have the CDs, they have the lyrics and stuff, so I would always go through all the lyrics and all the CDs. And then I would just like print stacks and stacks of papers full of lyrics and memorize them all. If you don't believe me, you can ask my siblings, like drawers full of lyrics that I would just memorize. And unconsciously, I was kind of figuring out how it was structured and how different songs were structured. And then over time, I started to learn how to incorporate that through my own music. My grandfather was a funk musician, or is still, he's still alive. And so I always, you know, there was some sort of connection to music early on. And my mom, she's a chiropractor, and, you know, she had a lot of, you know, a lot of her clients were in the art industry. And so a lot of times she would have parties, and she would have like bands come and play at her parties, and so I would, often, watch the bands play, and then sometimes, because she was also involved with the Pan-African community, so we would have drum circles at our house as well. So I would often like play in the drum circles with them. So I was always surrounded by music in some way. For the earlier parts of my life, I kind of lived in this box of, of kind of praise, I guess, because I was the only one and in my closest circle who could play an instrument. So it was very interesting when I went to Duke Ellington, and then I was surrounded by other artists and other musicians that could play, because there's not really an art scene. There isn't a scene of anything really in Accokeek, Maryland. It was difficult going from being the one person that knew how to do it to being surrounded by people that knew how to do it, and a lot of them better than I did. I think in a lot of ways what I do is not that out of the box that it can't be understood or digested, but sometimes I do feel people struggling to figure out what my sound is and what it is exactly that I'm doing and where exactly I fit. And so I've often asked myself if there was some way that I could kind of mold my sound to be more current or more in line with what, other creators are making at the moment, at least popular creators. But then it kind of feels more robotic and less true to what my spirit is telling me to create. So I just typically want to create what's natural to me, and if there's an audience for it, then fine. If there's not an audience for it, then that's fine too. It's not going to stop me from releasing music or, producing music. My dream, I just want to travel. I want to perform in Portugal, I want to perform in Spain, I want to perform in France and Italy and Brazil, and I have performed in Africa, so I did accomplish that. And I want to perform in other places in the country. I want to go live somewhere with a dog and write music with a grand piano and be okay. I'm a very spiritual person. I have a great belief in purpose, and I believe that whatever my purpose is, whether it's to touch 5 people or 5 million people, I'm okay with that.